Welcome to ACT Math Introduction and Initial Strategy. As we did last time with the English test, we are going to take one time to read the directions. Directions. Solve each problem, choose the correct answer, and then darken the corresponding oval on your answer sheet. Do not linger over problems that take too much time. Solve as many as you can, then return to the others in the time you have left for this test. You are permitted to use a calculator on this test. You may use your calculator for any problems you choose, but some of the problems may be best done without using a calculator. Note: unless otherwise stated, all of the following should be assumed. Illustrative figures are not necessarily drawn to scale. Geometric figures lie in a plane. The word line indicates a straight line. The word average indicates arithmetic mean. So that's your one time only for directions. So what do you expect on the math test? And this is approximately, of course. You have 60 minutes and 60 questions. So you can easily see that we have 1 minute per question. So as you're going along through the test, you can very quickly time to see where you are. So let's say if you're on question 20, you should be approximately 20 minutes into the test. But if you're on question 20 and 35 minutes have passed, you might want to pick up the pace or consider using your strategies to get through the test a little bit more efficiently. There are 33 algebra problems on average. This includes 14 pre-algebra problems. Those are for math terms, basic number theory, fractions, and decimals. There are 10 elementary algebra questions: inequalities, linear equations, ratios, percents, and averages, and 9 intermediate algebra questions dealing with exponents, roots, simultaneous equations, and quadratic equations. There are 23 geometry problems. 14 are plane geometry, dealing with angles, lengths, triangles, quadrilaterals, circles, perimeter, area, and volume. And there are 9 questions for coordinate geometry: slope, distance, midpoint, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, points of intersection, and graphing. The smallest component on the test is trigonometry. There are only 4 trig questions on the test. These are basic trig questions that deal with sine, cosine, tangent functions, trig identities, and graphing. The other tests in the ACT have 4 answer choices. This one gives you reduced odds of getting the correct answer. So it's even more important that we practice the strategies that we have learned. But what not to expect? Don't expect ACT to provide formulas for you. They won't. We will touch on the formulas that you really need to know in the next lesson. Do you use a calculator? Well, you do, but none of the questions truly require a calculator, though the test writers expect you to have one. You will work more quickly and smoothly with one if you know your calculator. The TI-89 and TI-92 are not allowed, and no cell phone calculators either. Yours need to do the following: handle positive, negative, and fractional exponents, use parentheses, graph simple functions, convert fractions to decimals and vice versa, change a linear equation into y equals mx plus b form. There are a few strategies that we will touch on for the math section. The first is process of elimination. We worked through this last week with the English portion, and those strategies will be similar for math. Ballpark. We're going to make estimates of the answers, and you'll see that this will help you narrow down your answers and get you through the problems much more quickly than if you just worked through the problems. And here's an ACT secret. Answers are listed smallest to largest. So the smallest number in the answer choices will be at A and the largest will be at E, for example. So if you can eliminate C, D, and E because those are going to be too big, that narrows your choice down to 50% and it saves you a lot of time. The other strategy is triage, trying to decide what you want to do now, later, or never. And never truly isn't the right answer here. Every answer should be now, later, or never. And when I say never, it means that you're not going to spend time guessing the answer. So if you've never had any trigonometry, for example, you would know that when a trig question comes up, you will just guess on that answer and then move on. That's what never means. So there are 3 levels of questions, and this strategy of triage teaches you to go through and do everything that's easy to you, and then go back and do the medium questions, and then finally go back and work on the hard questions, time allowing. But again, making sure that every bubble is filled. The ACT does not penalize you for guessing. Easy problems have only one step. Here's a question. Cynthia, Peter, Nancy, and Kevin are all carpenters. Last week, each built the following number of chairs. Cynthia, 36, Peter, 45, Nancy, 74, and Kevin, 13. What was the average number of chairs each carpenter built last week? This is that same problem, but with 2 steps added to make it a medium problem. 4 carpenters built an average of 42 chairs each last week. If Cynthia built 36 chairs, Nancy built 74 chairs, and Kevin built 13 chairs, how many chairs did Peter build? So you would have to go through 2 steps to find this answer. A hard problem will include 3 or more steps. See how it works with the same problem. 4 carpenters each built an average of 42 chairs last week. If no chairs were left uncompleted, and if Peter, who built 50 chairs, built the greatest number of chairs, what is the least number of chairs one of the carpenters could have built if no carpenter built a fractional number of chairs? You notice how in the last part of the question it said if no carpenter built a fractional number of chairs? A fraction is part of a chair, so answer choice D, we can very easily see that one's not going to be correct. Beware of partial answers. Partial answers are trick answers that will try to get you to select that answer choice rather than completing the steps needed in the problem. So something might look right and you might really want to go for it, but you may not have gone through all the steps necessary. Here's one. A bus line charges $5 each way to ferry a passenger between the hotel and an archaeological dig. On a given day, the bus line has a capacity to carry 255 passengers from the hotel to the dig and back. If the bus line runs at 90% of capacity, how much money did the bus line take in that day? 2 partial answers are provided, F and K. And if you take the time to go through and solve this problem, you will find that you will see those numbers along the way. Notice that F is an odd-looking answer. And here's that ACT secret again. Odd-looking answers are never the answer. This holds true for all questions and all tests in the ACT. One way to solve long problems such as this is to take bite-sized pieces. For example, each member in a club had to choose an activity for a day of volunteer work. 1/3 of the members chose to pick up trash. 1/4 of the remaining members chose to paint fences. 5/6 of the remaining members, still without tasks, chose to clean school buses. The rest of the members chose to plant trees. If the club has 36 members, how many of the members chose to plant trees? You'll notice that I highlighted several pieces of information in here. As I worked through the problem myself, I found that I was sidetracked because I didn't read some of the words carefully. Going back, I did. I want you to remember that you may write all over your ACT test. The only thing that needs to remain clean and pristine is the answer sheet. But the test itself, you can underline, you can circle, you can cross out, you can do anything you need to on there. So here I've highlighted remaining members, still without tasks, and the rest of the members. And then I also underlined what exactly they were asking me, so I didn't get lost in what they needed to find out. You could see I have the list of answers, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Here's an ACT secret. No one looks at how you solve the problem. You just need to get the right answer. On CSAPs, you had to explain how you came to the answer in the problem. And that's quite difficult. Here, all they care about is the bubble is filled in completely. And by the way, the answer is right in front of you. So, how many members chose to plant the trees? Let's find out. Let's take it by bites. How many members were total? Bite 1. How many members total? There were 36 members. Bite number 2. How many did trash? 1/3 of 36, which equals 12. 12 did trash. Bite number 3. How many remaining members? So we had 36 total, and we took out the 12 who did the trash, which left us with 24. Bite number 4. How many painted? Well, it was 1/4 of those who remained. Remember, I had that highlighted, which equals 6. 6 people painted. Bite number 5. How many remained from that? So we take the 24 people who are left, take out the 6 who painted, which gives us 18 people left. Bite number 6. How many people cleaned? 5/6 of 18, which equals 15 who cleaned. When I did this problem, I just used a calculator that didn't have fractions, so I turned 5/6 into a decimal, came up with 14.7578, something like that, rounded up to 15 because I knew that would be a whole person, and it got me to 15 cleaned. Bite number 7, how many people are left to plant trees? Well, of the 18 people who had remained, we take away the 15, so that leaves us 3. 3 people are left to plant trees. We can go back and look at our answer choices, and you'll see that the lines with the arrows were tricks. Those were traps that they set for people who did not answer the question completely. They wanted you to fall into those traps. So if you followed the steps properly, you would know that the answer would either be F or H. And because we answered the question correctly, we got to answer choice F. So watch out for distractions. This is what it looks like at my house with my cat on my computer. It is distracting, but we have to stay away from those. And the ACT will give you some distractions. They'll give you extra information on a question that's not necessary to answer that question. Let's look at one. Susan's take-home pay is $300 per week, of which she spends $80 on food and $150 on rent. What fraction of her take-home pay does she spend on food? Well, does the rent matter? No, it doesn't. That's a total distraction. So I highlighted it. We could just cross that out, whatever you need to do to get that out of your mind. In essence, getting the cat off the computer. So, what fraction of her take-home pay does she spend on food? We write $80 over $300, which reduces to 4/15. We can cross out the zeros right there, takes it to 8 over 30, and then reduce it to 4 over 15, gets us to B. Now, if you wanted to try a quick estimate, that ballpark figure, you can, in your head, say, well, is $80 out of 300 more than half? No. And because we know that these go in order, you can say C, D, and E can be eliminated. That narrows your answer choices down to A and B. And we found our answer quickly by doing the math with 4/15. So it provides some backup to know that you reached what you needed to reach. So that's the ACT Math Introduction and Initial Strategy. You should have a practice sheet to work on some of these strategies with 7 problems. Good luck!